The term cosmic horror or Lovecraftian horror is the term coined for the horrors the human mind cannot comprehend. It's titled this way due to the popularized works of author H.P. Lovecraft, more or less cementing the subgenre to stay. The term is rather vast because, well, it kinda has to be. It strikes a lot more of a psychological attack rather than straight up gore or other common horror imagery. Sometimes you may never see the creature or whoever is causing the dread, and honestly, that makes it all that much worse. That's enough background. Read the many works if this strikes your fancy. I'm not the biggest aficionado of the horror genre. I'm dipping my toes in the water throughout the past few years, but this is one of my favorite things to look towards. I really don't care for jump scares and the common slasher or intense gore fest movies. They're just kind of too much for me. The psychological aspect I am quite fond of, however. I cannot really pinpoint the cause. Guess I always have been a fan of more internet horror, creepypastas, or just obscure things, and now recently analog horror, and that's just getting me sidetracked though. I picked 3 games that followed this cosmic horror trend to some degree. These aren't the top 3 of course, just 3 I've played. My list is small as I preface, so you might say I'm stretching a bit for my picks, but Darkest Dungeon still ticks all the boxes. Alright, ripping the potential band-aid off, first off, I will take no slander. Theme says it's a horror game, so eat my ass. Time for a mini soapbox. I'm going to still count games with horror elements while not necessarily pointing creepy things at you non-stop are horror games. At the very least, they are games with heavy horror elements. I can consider games like Binding of Isaac, Bloodborne, Castlevania, and Darkest Dungeon that hit those boxes. Yeah, they're not just straight up scary games, but they have horror elements. Second point I wanted to address is that the common emotions one has while playing are dread, fear, anxiety, and stress. If you play Darkest Dungeon, all of that applies. Okay, into the weeds. Darkest Dungeon, for those who are unaware, is an indie dungeon crawling roguelike RPG. Created by Red Hook Studios, this game launched in 2016 for early access and since then has released on pretty much everything. You create a team of 4 and delve into a select amount of dungeons to complete set tasks. These usually are going in and killing monsters that lie in each place and preparing your adventurers for the titular Darkest Dungeon. This game is brutal, unforgiving, and hard. The game is a dungeon crawler rather than a full-on roguelike. Some maps will be predetermined, of course. The rogue elements come in with the normal map design and the many things in each dungeon. The same applies with the heroes you hire. They come in waves and have set stats, quirks, and classes. There's some manipulation here, but it's still a bit restrictive and you are left to RNGesus. To prepare for a dungeon, you set up a team, grab supplies, and move on in. The survival aspect is key, managing hunger, health, status ailments, light, and stress. Newcomers will want to never run out of light unless you're ready for some very hard challenge. It's a very risk-reward. Higher light equals easier time but less rewards, and vice versa for the low light. It can help avoid traps and also not get jumped by enemies. Team composition is key as well, making you really think how each member synergizes with the others. This will also play into healing, stress relieving, camping skills, trap disarming, and scouting and enemy killing potential. There is a lot here and a lot to manage at once, making the unforgiving dungeons that much more tough. Stress is more or less a second health bar. Once it hits 100, your character typically has a meltdown, causing them to skip turns, attack allies, and stress out the rest of your team. Hitting 200 gives them a heart attack, leading them to death's door. This is a D&D-esque dice roll to see if every subsequent attack will kill that player. It's more or less a death saving throw. This is important though, because a dead player is dead forever. And the game saves very often. Save scumming will not help you. You can't just close out of the game when a character dies. They're dead. Managing of heroes is a tough time. You will have allies die, and it can really suck. The amount of time put into a character near the endgame is a pretty low blow if lost. Aside from this though, returning alive to town has places to upgrade, spend money, or stress relief, drinking, gambling, or boinking your sorrows away. Or go to church, you heathen. This is such a very light overview, but it gets deep and God is it addictive. Town management here is just as fun as the exploration. The horror, of course, comes in with the art style and imagery. The Cove is your go-to for Eldritch specifically, but the core of the Darkest Dungeon has a lot of cosmic influence as well. I do not want to spoil too much of the endgame, but it is really cool once finally in the Darkest Dungeon. The enemies are grotesque, and trust me, they are creepy when you have 2 characters on death's door. The art style is so damn good as well, the heroes and enemy design is amazing. My favorite part is that all of them are balanced, and I really feel there is no bad unit. Some are better, yes, but everyone has a use and at least have saved my ass on one occasion. It is a game I can sink a lot of hours to, but it hits that perfect level of stress constantly for me. Never will you feel safe, even at the hamlet, once bandits start showing their ugly mugs. It hits in very similar veins to Dark Souls, no, not just because difficulty, but the medieval horror and oppressive world and the ideology that times can be really tough, but there is always a way to push forward, despite all the terrors that this life has. I mean, the game's opening does it best. Darkest Dungeon is about making the most of a bad situation. Quests will fail, or must be abandoned. Heroes will die, and when they die, they stay dead. Progress autosaves frequently, so actions are permanent. The game expects a lot out of you. How far will you push your adventures? How much are you willing to risk in your quest to restore the hamlet? What will you sacrifice to save the life of your favorite hero? Thankfully, there's always fresh souls arriving on the stagecoach, seeking both adventure and fame in the shadow of the Darkest Dungeon. There's a lot to learn. It's fun and addicting as it is painful and aggressive in its approach. Every single pointed damage hits with a heavy amount of weight on both sides. Any attack could be fatal or just enough to undo your entire strategy or approach. I have beaten this and really want to do another playthrough already, but I'm still early in the weeds of Darkest Dungeon 2. The sequel hits a lot more of a standard roguelike tropes and is less harsh on character death in a sense, so it might be up others' alley if that sounded like a big turnoff. The theming is all still here in its murky glory. It's honestly just pick your preferred torture method. I will cut some of the rambling off here. I really could keep going for a long time. I did a tier list a while back on the characters, so I guess if you're interested, there's a free plug. Regardless, I apologize if this wasn't the horror you wanted to see. I know I fished for excuses, but at least I didn't fish for abominations. Dredge might have been a game that was made for little old me. A fishing game where you encounter terrors of the deep, absolute peak content. Released in 2023, developed by Black Salt Games under the publisher Team 17. This released to all modern consoles and very high praises. Very sad I only heard about it due to winning Best Indie Game in that year's Game Awards. A style like this is so up my alley, but that isn't reflective of the whole gaming sphere. But I understand how it got to where it is. The game puts you in the shoes of a fisherman, set to be this archipelago's angler. Very quickly, things become unhinged. With nighttime comes incomprehensible terrors and many residents acting very strange. You could all say it's in the angler's head, or maybe one of the trout's 3 heads that you just fished up. Yeah, the fish start out pretty normal, but the aberrations you fish up are anything but. Take a look for yourself, as the spread is pretty high. Good thing they sell for a lot. The big mechanic aside from fishing and dredging minigames is the inventory management. Your ship only holds so much, making you have to sort of puzzle your items in as well as have necessary gear to survive. This comes into play with the time cycle. The game has a typical day and night cycle. During the day, dear God, it's so beautiful. It is easy to get lost in the serene music and lovely visuals. It is insane. Just listening to the daytime feels so calming, and I just kind of want to sit out on the boat and relax. The tranquility of the day, though, is heavily offset by the fucked up nighttime. The so-called aberrations here are a lot more common, making nocturnal travel a must if you want to fill out your book. The game also comes with a very lovely sanity meter. Getting exposed to the night or any insane creature and not being prepared with enough light will send you into a frenzy. Similar to other games that have a sort of sanity meter, you start to hallucinate many creatures in the deep. Making sure you get enough rest is vital, but you want to be timely for selling any fish, as they all come with an allotted freshness rating. Better sales when the fish aren't rotting to your deck, go figure. So you loop through water, catch fish, avoid tentacle and head to a dock and sell fish and sleep away all the voices in your head. Obviously those with intense thalassophobia will probably hate this. That feeling you get when an unidentifiable shadow is right underneath your boat? Well, I don't know what it is and I hate it, but that's the charm. This has a little bit more direct but similar vibes to a game like Subnautica. I could have talked about this game, but I haven't actually played it, but I do know that the deeper you dive into that game, a lot more of the creepier and cosmic horror denizens you eventually find. This is a good balance of the right amount of horror for me. I enjoy the day, but panic sets in when the sun does, and nighttime is a complete 180 to the light. It's very fun. I have not fully beaten the story at the time of recording this, but I'm loving the overall gloomy atmosphere and the world building we're getting with this land. I have seen some people find the mechanics a bit more tedious, and I can understand that. It can be a lot with the general inventory and time management, and now you have Cthulhu sliding into your DMs. It is an adventure with a surprisingly deep amount of mechanics to sink your teeth into. Each trip out into the open waves is carefully planned, lest you fall victim to the deep. Seriously, try this game, even if it slightly piques your interest. It's rather cheap, and you could do much worse. If that price tag is too steep, you can always go below the $10 mark. Short form indie horror is all the rage these days. This is definitely the most classically tropey, in regards to horror, is this niche little title I found while scouring for some short form horror games to stream last year. Its setting and design intrigued me and I set it up to play it blind. This is No One Lives Under the Lighthouse, or No Luddle. Right? Released initially in 2020 for the PC. The independent studio of Marevo Collective dropped this banger and now we have my ears perked to any new project they are working on. The plot is rather simple. The last lighthouse keeper disappeared and you're the new one to sign up for the job. That's it. Spend your days doing tasks and once it becomes night, light the lighthouse and, well, job complete. The design and inspiration holds very similar to the 2019 film The Lighthouse. For those who are still not aware, it's the Willem Dafoe movie where he says Fortnite.
Fortnite.
If you are a fan of that, I'm sure this will be your jam. It's very, very similar. There are many things I loved about this adventure. First and foremost, the art style is peak. I love all these games that have that low poly PS1-esque design, and this really scratches that itch. Not being able to make out the faces on people can really add to the horror in different ways. I once again must talk about the vibes. I think it is something I look for in a horror game, clearly. Similar to Dredge, not just in the maritime theming of course, but the daytime is a surreal shift in design compared to the eerie and unsettling night. The small island is easily walkable, the foggy shores, I'd totally mess with this. I would totally want to live here or even like hang out here for a couple days. Maybe get a few extra faces with me so I'm not alone on this island and go insane, but I digress. While I actually will not go into the plot fully for this one, it's a bit vague, but I think it's a fun experience blind. I will explain the early steps though. In all senses, this is a slow burn of a game. The scares are very infrequent, many not even traditionally jump scares. The ones that could be classified are usually silent, just a blank cutoff. But it works. It's creepy, and I love that it isn't focused on loud sounds to jump you, it's all about the tension it builds. Take that with the intentional, meaningless tasks. Wiping windows, carrying sandbags, digging holes. The daytime activities are made with a sense of misleading a player to catch someone they least expect it. It also helps with the very fever dream-like state the story ends up in as you question if the player is going crazy or are they in immense danger. Even with the cosmic horror inspiration, lighthouses and the ocean in general are a really big icon for them. The ocean is often paired as it's the closest real-world metaphor we can probably get to the unknown. We do not know everything in the ocean. There's a legitimate fear of the unknown down below. As that is the Lovecraftian MO, it really makes sense why we see oceanic themes all the time. No One Lives Under the Lighthouse hits all that with a lack of monster presence. Never do you glimpse anything for more than a second. It's a classic trope to hide the monster in any subgenre. It keeps you guessing. How many times do you hear people criticize the genre once the monster or killer is revealed, diminishing the scary aspect highly? The game works wonders with this minimalism in story design and gameplay, and I love it. It took me 2 hours to play. It's a very short time, but it's a perfect length for this type of game. Obviously, something like this stretched to 15 hours would be immensely boring, and it's a reason why short-form horror games are super cool for me. Anyways, this is a game I would recommend many due to the low price tag and very short playtime. You don't gotta worry about being scared because nobody lives under the lighthouse. Why would you be scared? Cosmic horror or its general Lovecraftian aspects are some I see seep its tendrils into the media more and more. Its lack of identity of the unknown is perfect to dive and experiment with the ideas it could hold. And the takeaway is, I probably just need to play more horror games. I just want to hit more of this perfect vibe I guess I found with games. But I guess that's where you guys come in. Let me know if there's other games with similar theming to any of these that I could have talked about. If you have any games that scratch the itch of our last spot especially, please let me know ASAP. Till then, I will continue to play games with low poly art style because, hell yeah.